I have a list of communists in the United States government. And with that, we had kicked off the McCarthy hearings. And right now, I think we are on a new modern McCarthyism, particularly as it pertains to the military. Now let's first realize what happened during the McCarthy hearings. This was Senator McCarthy talking about all these communists that had infiltrated the government. But it didn't stop there. We went after the civilian government, went to the military, went after Hollywood actors and writers, everyone who was a communist. He had his enemies list, and every week he'd post a new list of enemies. And of course, self-interest started taking over. It was just like the Salem witch trials. In fact, Arthur Miller, a playwright who experienced the McCarthy hearings and was scrutinized during that time period, wrote The Crucible, which many suspect was based on his experience with the McCarthy hearings. The Crucible set in Salem about the witch trials, with powerful lines like, "You're either with this court or against it. There is no in between." And that's how you start doing it. Naming the names, the list of names. And in Salem, we put people to death who were innocent for being witches, something that didn't even exist. Yet we put them to death. And many people who did it knew that. They used this fear to settle old scores. And this brings me to the concern I have in the military. People point to January 6th, like, oh, we have to get rid of the extremists in our ranks. And what I notice, you go to LinkedIn or Facebook, say, we got to get rid of the extremists. And this all started with an editorial from a general talking about his concern about extremists in our ranks. But before I go on with that concern, let me go back to how we handled things from 9/11. 9/11, we went out of our way to say Muslims weren't the enemy. We went out of our way to make sure Muslims who worked and owned businesses here in the U.S., Muslims who are our fellow soldiers, these were not extremists. These were good people. Even when, if we're talking about extremist attacks, insider threats in the military, the two attacks that come to my mind, one in Iraq at a base in Kuwait right before the war kicked off, wounding a man I used to work for and killing one of my West Point classmates. That was a U.S. soldier indoctrinated by Islamic extremism. And then Major Hassan, down in Fort Hood, opened fire in the dining hall. Again, Islamic extremism. But even then, we never took this approach that we are taking now with this, we have extremists in our ranks. This is all going on despite, to my knowledge, not one active duty soldier participating in the January 6th insurrection, and not one right-wing extremist opening fire on fellow U.S. soldiers. Hasn't even happened yet. I mean, with the Muslim extreme example, we had that happen, and we still did not go through this, we have to find the Muslims in our ranks. We never did that. And this is what we're trying to do. So who defines the extremist? Is there someone who watches Fox News? Or, oh, whoa, you must be extremist. Oh, you're on social media. Oh, you're extremist. You know? I watch Russia Today. I hate the Russians. I watch it to hear what is the enemy saying. What are their talking points? So you can't address their talking points unless you know what they're saying. But if we follow the same path, oh, you must be with the Russians. No, see, this is an approach we cannot take. And it's going to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people start thinking they're the enemy, they're going to become the thing you're trying to prevent. And a better approach, I think, is always dialogue. When I was at Fort Campbell, I was the equal opportunity officer, and I also had the opportunity to command a artillery detachment. And we had these equal opportunity classes, the Eagle Values Education Program. And one of the rotating topics was the Confederate flag. Back in the time I served, there were no policies about the Confederate flag, whether you could have it, not have it, that type of thing. But soldiers in my battery started taking down the American flag. Not because of, the Confederate flag, sorry. Not because of a policy, but because they internalized it because of these dialogue sessions we had. Where we get everybody together in the way I ran it. Rural white guy from Georgia, Private Smith, hey, tell us what the Confederate flag means to you. And he talks about his Southern pride and all that type of stuff. Never mentioned slavery. Then we had an African-American soldier from California, Los Angeles. Hey, what does that mean to you? Let's talk about the history of lynching, Confederacy, all that type of thing. And it opened each other's eyes. He's realizing, the African-American soldier realizing that, oh, okay, this guy has a Confederate flag, but he has a completely different logic. I don't agree with his logic, but clearly he's still a good person at heart. And meanwhile, the white soldier thought, oh, gosh, yeah, I'm not really familiar with that history. And, you grow up in the South, they deify Robert E. Lee. They deify the Confederates, and they sweep the Confederacy tie to slavery underneath the rug. Like, oh, it wasn't about slavery. It was like, they look at these, they use this altruistic language. People have been hearing this for generations. So yeah, for them, they don't think it's about slavery. So when they have that Confederate flag or they have that Confederate tattoo, they don't think they're supporting racism. And by the way, the Confederate flag has been present in our military in terms of, soldiers having it on their bumper stickers or whatever for generations. And yet we've not had extreme people following a white racist ideology killing fellow soldiers. It hasn't happened. It's nothing at scale, nothing I'm aware of. We've had tight units despite this. And if we go on this McCarthy-style witch hunt, my fear is we're going to break that unit cohesion. We're going to break that trust. And also, if you do have bad apples, they're going to be forced underground. When you let people talk, it does two things. A, it exposes them. B, you're able to have dialogue and change them. And I saw this in our equal opportunity classes, particularly on the topic like the Confederate flag, but on a litany of issues, because people were talking, voicing their perspective, hearing another perspective, and that's how we came together as a tighter unit. That's what we need to be doing, not going on witch hunts. I mean, again, it wasn't that long ago, 9/11. We treated the Islamic extremism problem with more kid gloves than we're treating this perceived current problem. And let's be careful not to blow a problem out of proportion. I was angry by January 6th, but let's not mistake this. At no point was our government threatened. At no point was there going to be a change of Joe Biden becoming the next president of the United States, and those people who got elected to new House seats and Senate seats, they were going to go there and assume their positions. January 6th did not change and was in no danger of changing any of that. Even if they burned down the building, the system of government was still there. We would have put people in their building. Our government was not the existence of our government was not under attack on January 6th. They stormed a building, not our government. Even 9/11. 9/11 did not threaten the existence of this country. And yet, some of our rhetoric, we indicated that it might be, that Al-Qaeda threatened our existence. It didn't. But because we had that fear, what did we do? We engaged in domestic policies that did a lot more harm than good. Look at our civil liberties that were violated with the Patriot Act. And then, you look, not to mention some of the other ways we carried out our post 9/11 response. On top of that, I mean, we invaded the wrong country. We invaded Iraq, a country that had nothing to do with 9/11 because of our fear of 9/11. And when people started saying things like, wait, I'm not so sure Iraq has these weapons of mass destruction, we vilified those people. Turns out they were right. And that's the danger I see if we keep going down this path. No, we should not tolerate extremists in our ranks in the military. Absolutely not. But we need to take a more measured approach. Bringing back sessions where soldiers can have dialogue, we can talk about these issues, voicing concerns. Let's not start making lists of names and I have a list of extremists. Let's not repeat the McCarthy era. Let's not repeat Salem. We should have learned, but it seems like we have to learn this every now and then. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate this. If you think I'm wrong, let's discuss. And again, discussion dialogue is how I move forward. Thank you.